People said billionaires lived in a different universe, but in the silent, sleepless hours of the hospital, Evelyn Hart felt like she didn't belong to any world. Not the old one where she walked in 6-inch heels and closed multi-million-dollar deals. And not this new one where she sat in a wheelchair that hummed quietly whenever she shifted her weight, a constant reminder that her spine had betrayed her. The nights were the worst. During the day, at least the hospital buzzed, doctors rushing, nurses chatting, machines clicking, visitors tiptoeing with flowers and worried faces. Noise kept her mind distracted. But at night, everything slowed down. The world shrank to the soft beeping of distant monitors and the echo of her own breath. A billionaire wasn't supposed to feel small. Yet here she was, small, scared, and utterly alone. Her once powerful legs that had climbed mountains, danced on yachts, strode confidently across global conference stages, now lay still beneath a hospital blanket. Sometimes she stared at them and whispered, "Move." They never listened. One particular night, when the hospital's clock blinked 2:57 a.m. in a dark hallway, she sat by the glass wall that overlooked the parking lot. Rain tapped gently against the windows, the kind of soft rain that lullabies some people to sleep. Not Evelyn. She hadn't slept properly since the accident. Her mind was too busy replaying it, over and over, the screech of the tires, the metal folding, the way time froze and shattered all at once. Behind her, she heard the slow, rhythmic swish, 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 the janitor. She'd seen him before. Always quiet, always moving with a tired kind of determination. He cleaned the halls like someone who knew life wasn't easy but got up to fight every day anyway. His uniform was faded in spots, the edges fraying a little, and his shoes weren't the polished leather her world was used to. They were worn, like they'd survived battles. She never paid much attention to staff. Her world had always revolved around CEOs, directors, investors, people who mattered. But something about this man drew her eye. Maybe it was the way he did his job, unhurried, steady, almost gentle. Maybe it was the way he hummed old songs under his breath, like someone trying to keep himself awake. Or maybe it was the way he looked at her, not with pity, not with awe, not with the calculated coldness of those who wanted something from her, but with a strange mix of recognition and understanding. Tonight, he swept closer than usual. Evelyn stiffened. She hated being watched when she felt fragile. She hated being pitted. He didn't say anything at first. Just swept around her wheelchair, careful not to touch the wheels. She admired that. Many people fumbled around her chair awkwardly, as if afraid of offending her by coming too close. He treated it like it was simply part of the hallway. Finally, without looking directly at her, he said, "You've been sitting here since midnight." She blinked. "How do you know?" she asked, her tone edged with the cold smoothness she used during board meetings. It used to intimidate people. It didn't seem to affect him at all. He shrugged lightly. "I start my shift at midnight." This spot was empty then. "So. I know." Her throat tightened. She wasn't used to being observed so plainly. "And why does it matter to you?" she asked, a bit sharper. He paused, resting both hands on the top of his mop. His eyes, warm, brown, tired, finally met hers. "Because you look like someone who hasn't given up, but wants permission to try." His words cut through her like a cold wind. Evelyn's lips parted, but no sound came out. No one talked to her like that. Not doctors with their clinical optimism. Not family friends who whispered about her tragedy like it was a stock market crash. Not employees who tiptoed around her like she was breakable glass. "Permission to try." She swallowed hard. "Try?" she echoed with a hollow laugh. "My spinal cord is damaged. I can't even stand. Trying is pointless." He didn't flinch. "Maybe. But sometimes the body listens when the heart does." Evelyn looked away, her jaw tightening. She resented how his words stirred something in her, something buried under months of pain and fear. "And you?" she said bitterly. "What do you know about spinal damage?" He leaned slightly on his mop, one eyebrow lifting in a quiet challenge. Maybe not much. But I know what it's like to be told something is impossible. She almost rolled her eyes, almost. Something in his voice stopped her. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't philosophical. It was honest. What happened? She asked, surprised at her own question that he took a breath like someone deciding if he should share something sacred. My daughter, he said softly, had an accident when she was 4. Doctors said she'd never move her right arm again. Too much nerve damage. Evelyn felt a twinge in her chest. And? He smiled, a tired, proud, gentle smile. She draws now, he said simply. The image struck her deeply. A little girl raising a pencil in defiance of medical predictions. A father refusing to accept limits. How? She whispered. She cried. She tried. She failed. She tried again. And eventually, he shrugged with a lightness that didn't hide the years of struggle behind it. Her arm remembered how to be brave. Evelyn looked down at her own limp legs. Brave wasn't a word she'd felt in a long time. And you think you can fix this? She asked, motioning to her body in the chair. That he shook his head. No. I don't fix people. Then he leaned in just slightly and said something that pierced straight through her defenses. I think I can help you believe again. A stunned silence filled the space between them. Evelyn let out a broken laugh, small, almost bitter, almost frightened. Believe? I'm a realist. I deal with facts. He chuckled softly. Is that what you were doing when you built companies out of nothing? When everyone told you a woman couldn't lead an empire, and you did it anyway? Sounds like you believed in something once. His words brought heat to her eyes. She looked away, her fingers gripping the armrests of her wheelchair. You don't know anything about me. Maybe not, he agreed calmly. But I know what someone looks like when they're standing at the edge between giving up and trying again. Evelyn felt her chest tighten, her emotions fighting with her pride. Why was she listening to a janitor? Why did his words feel like truth instead of nonsense? Why did her eyes feel wet? She blinked rapidly, forcing composure back into her voice. What's your name? He smiled warmly. Liam. She nodded. Well, Liam, thank you for the story. But you should know one thing. She inhaled, preparing to protect herself with cold logic again. Hope is dangerous. It hurts when it breaks. He stepped back slightly, but his voice stayed gentle. Sometimes it hurts less than regret. That hit her like a punch she never saw coming. She didn't respond. Couldn't. Her throat was too tight. Liam returned to sweeping, giving her space, but something had shifted. Something small, fragile, and terrifyingly alive. As he moved farther down the hallway, she found her eyes following him, her mind replaying his words. She realized she wasn't thinking about her legs for the first time in hours. She was thinking about a little girl drawing. About a father refusing to accept fate. About the faintest possibility, unthinkable, unbearable, that maybe her story wasn't sealed shut after all. When Liam reached the end of the hallway, he looked back, not with pity, not with expectation, just acknowledgement, and nodded once. Evelyn didn't know why, but she nodded back, and in that tiny, silent moment, something in her heart, something she thought died the day of the accident, trembled back to life. Hope, small, dangerous, glowing, and she didn't push it away.